Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Starseed Immersion podcast. I'm so excited today to introduce you to Lauren McLeish. She is a divine energy alchemist, multidimensional activator, and soul remembrance catalyst, dedicated to awakening the divine essence within others. Blending holy fire, Reiki, Akashic insight, and cosmic wisdom, she guides light leaders to embody their highest truth and activate their soul gifts. Through her transformative work, and podcast, she empowers others to bridge divinity and physicality, leading with authenticity and light. Her mission is to walk the path of mastery alongside those building soulful, purpose-driven enterprises. I'm so excited for you. Thank you so much for being here, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
I always like to start with a little bit about like your background. So I would love to hear, how did you get into this work and what was your life like before?
Oof. Um, this is a story in itself, but I suppose getting into this work has been a lifelong journey. Very typical of many light workers. I always knew ever since I can remember that I could feel, sense, see energy, that I could feel the emotions of others. I could almost sometimes even feel what people were thinking and I remember very vividly as a little girl being in my room of a night time and having a lot of trouble sleeping because I could sense energies in my room or energies around me. And it was quite frightening, if I'm honest. I spent a lot of years as a little girl quite frightened of going to sleep at night because I knew that I wasn't alone, that there was other energies around me, but I just couldn't see them. Um, and yeah, I suppose at that point, when in my younger years, I never really understood what was happening or that I could sense these other energies. And like I said, it was quite frightening and confusing almost. And I used to try and voice this to my parents. I'd go into their room when I was at night and say, "I'm scared. There's a ghost in my room," and they'd just dismiss it. It was never validated. Nothing was ever explained to me. So I just sort of learned to live with it and block it out, I suppose, again, which something is I think really common in the journey of many light workers is sort of blocking out our gifts, if you like, from a very young age because of lack of understanding. And, that's something I have two little boys, and that's something that I am very conscious of and very aware of with my kids. If they talk about anything like that, I'm always very, very open about what I do and that there is other things out there and you can sense other energies and all of that kind of thing because I wouldn't want them to, experience some of the things I did when I was a child. And yeah, so, and then, moving into my sort of teen years and early 20s, again, I was aware at some level that I was still sensing and seeing beyond, the physical, but again, continued to sort of block it out. Um, I became a police officer when I was 22. And that was people used to ask me, why do you want to be a police officer? And I just used to say, because I want to help people. So it was like I always had this sort of innate knowing that I wanted to help people. I wanted to help the community was sort of the way I used to put it. Yeah, there was this desire to help humanity in some way, I suppose. And I thought being a police officer was the was the path that, would help me do that. And so I went along and did that. And even now, when I think back to my 10 years in the police, I I was very intuitive. I used to know and sense when things were going to turn bad. I would just know things about certain people. People would even come to me and say, this has happened, this crime's been committed. Who do you think might be sort of responsible for it? And I just used to know things that, maybe a lot of other people wouldn't sort of tune into. So yeah, even looking back on my time now, I can see that, but I just didn't acknowledge it. There was also the part of me being very empathic that I didn't understand to the full extent either, was all of the things that I experienced and witnessed and went through in the police that I was taking on board and holding on to, I suppose, energy wise, all the traumatic events that I attended, the situations that I had to deal with. It was it was a lot. It was a lot, and not understanding, how sensitive I am or I was. Um, I was never doing anything to sort of offload that or cleanse my energy or release any of that stuff that I was taking on. So eventually, after 10 years, well, it was before that, it started taking a toll on me. It really, really did. And I started getting a lot of anxiety, bouts of depression and all of that kind of thing. And I knew in my heart that it wasn't the job that I knew it wasn't a long-term job. And a whole series of events took place over the last couple of years in my career where I can now see that, the wheels were turning to get me out of that job. And I just kind of wasn't paying attention, because I wanted to leave on my own terms. And eventually there came a point where I was diagnosed with PTSD. And from, 10 years of accumulated trauma and witnessing trauma and being at the other end of the receiving end of, the abuse that police cop and just all of the things. Frontline workers really, I still love them and admire them, for the job that they do. But yeah, I was diagnosed with PTSD and I got out of that job, medically discharged with PTSD. And it's actually making me feel a little bit emotional talking about it now, still, even though I've done so much work around this. And I've even relabeled PTSD to pathway to self-discovery because that was what it really was for me. That's the way I try and look at it now. But, by that time when I got out of the job, I'd had two kids, had a partner, and I was really not in a good place. And my youngest son was 6 months old. My oldest son was almost two. And I was in a world of pain. I was heavily medicated. I was, extremely paranoid. I was having nightmares. All of the things that PTSD brings. It's really a lot. Trying to be a mother to my two babies. And my partner was actually incarcerated at that time when my babies, so I had two under two. And that was just sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. I knew he was going to be gone for a long time, and it turned out to be 3 years that he was gone for. But it was that very point in time where it was like I said, that the last straw, everything just crumbled around me, my life, everything. I was on my own. I lost my identity as a police officer because that's what it is. It becomes part of your identity. You don't know what, you don't really know yourself outside of that. And yeah, he was gone, and I was left with a 6 month old and another little boy that was, 2 weeks off turning two. And I suffered for a long time, probably almost 12 months, just pushed myself through, it feels like a blur now. And it got to a point where I just crumpled, and I realized on one particular night that, and it happened to be New Year's Eve. When we all do that, okay, next year's gonna be a good one, I'm letting go of all of this stuff, and like you're really trying to bring in a new start. It was one of those moments, but that night was so pivotal for me. I broke down outside in my backyard, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Who am I? Why am I here? Like those big questions, And from that point on, within days, a deep remembrance was sparked within me. I can't even explain it in words. I've actually co-authored a book. There was a group of women who wrote sort of, a portion of their story, of their awakening, if you like, or remembrance, as I like to refer to it. And that was the start of it for me. And that book, by the way, is called Threshold Stories of Initiation. So that was the chapter that I share in that was all about this point of my journey, and something changed in me that night. I began to realize it was like I switched my gifts on. I began to realize that I was more than this physical body. I was the only person that could get myself out of the hole that I felt like I was in and out of this darkness that had been around for so long. And yeah, I just, those times where you just get, a lot of people would know when you go through your awakening or, your sort of first big awakening, you just get thrust onto this path and all of this stuff starts coming into your field, information, knowings, the aha moments, like, oh my God, it was when I really made that deeper connection with my higher self, if you like, or with my soul, like I actually acknowledged, oh my gosh, I have a soul. I have a soul and I can speak to my soul and I can allow my soul to, move through me and guide me. And I'm listening now. It was like the channels of communication just sort of opened up from asking those big questions. And this was in 2019. So it all made sense to me too that, as the world sort of changed and went into a different gear in 2020, throughout 2019, I was kind of prepared for that. It's really interesting to look back now on that. And that's when I discovered I went and I didn't even know what Reiki was. I'd heard, about it and started reading about it. I was like, I'm going to go get myself a Reiki session. And it was one session with a beautiful friend, and she's still a mentor of mine and one of my Reiki masters. That changed my world. What I experienced in that session, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to learn how to do this for myself. So that kind of got me on that path. I went and was attuned to Reiki. And started meditating, just for 10 minutes of a morning before my kids got up. Started journaling, started doing affirmations, all of the kind of things that we do to start really opening up the conversation with our soul, essentially. And yeah, that's what started everything off, really, was that one particular night. And it all moved from there really, really rapidly to once I was attuned to Reiki energies, that started to really open up my gifts and opened up a whole new world for me. And I started learning about, you know, uh, my connections to other star systems or other planets. I felt a real connection to the Pleiades and all sorts of things that I'd never even contemplated in my life before. The whole world of multidimensionality opened up, and yeah, it was actually, thinking back on it now, it was a really beautiful point in my journey. It was so hard and so challenging up until then, but yeah, it was wild. It was wild times, but that's what threw me onto this path. And I knew after some time of working with Reiki energies, on myself and my kids and some close like family and friends, that yeah, I was like, I think I want to do this. This might be my new um, career direction, if you like.
Wow. And it's so interesting to hear the trajectory of how everything unfolded. And it's like it was divine fate, like it led you into what you do today.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
when it came to, I guess, the spiritual stuff, just curious, how did you start connecting with your starseed family? Like, was it through meditation or did you study with a mentor to be able to get attuned with that? Or did it just naturally just one day like come through for you?
Yes, well, that's interesting too. The best way I can recall this is Um, I used to get up at 4:30 in the mornings. I dedicated this time to myself because I had two babies. I was on my own, and the only time I had any time to myself was at 4:30 in the morning. I would get up, I would do some exercise, I would sit down, I would meditate just for 10 minutes. And it was essentially teaching myself to tune in. And I think that's where I really started to forge that relationship with with my soul or with my higher self. And I actually just asked one day. I said, show me what I need to see right now. What do I need to know right now? And I used to use YouTube a lot back then for research, if you like, or for learning and from different people and listening to things. I opened up YouTube and the first thing that came up, are you a Pleiadian starseed? And I cried my eyes out. I'd never even heard of the word Pleiades. I didn't know what it was. But when I read it, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. The only way I can describe it was that I kept hearing the word home, 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 come like it was, and I read it and I cried and I was like, yes, I carry all of these traits. Like it just feels so resonant to me. That was the very first little thing that made me kind of go, wow, like there is so much more to my soul. Like I have these cosmic connections that I've never even thought about before and never known anything about. That was the first point. Very, very random experience, but good old YouTube. I asked and that was what came through. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God. That's so synchronistic. The first thing that came up. And I promise you, I think that's how the universe or our higher self communicates with us is what is the easiest way that we will receive the information? Because if you're very resistant, like it's hard to see it, but it's easy to say like, oh, okay, I'm on social media, I'm on YouTube, or I'm talking to a friend and we receive that information directly. So I
Yeah.
do believe everything is consciousness and everything is like a direct connection to source. If you ask, you will receive.
Absolutely. And I was in that point of time where I was asking with conviction. I really think there's power in that. Like that New Year's Eve when I cannot tell you, I don't think I've asked any question with such conviction in my life. It was, who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing here? Like, what's my purpose? You know, um, and it was like, oh, okay, here we go. The information started coming in. It was the same thing. I think it was like, tell me what I need to know. Like I'm in this mode of I'm so open to remembering and receiving everything that I need to know so I can get on with this, this mission and learn to understand myself better, So I think, yeah, when you ask, you definitely receive. And in this modern world, social media or, things on the internet or sometimes that's the way we receive information. Sometimes that's the way that information comes into our field that we need to see or be made aware of. Or, like you said, it can be, conversations with friends or a random person or whatever it is. But yeah, a lot of the time it is what's online.
Yes. And there's something so magical about it too, because I remember even this year, I was going through different phases. Like I went through a whole art phase, and the most interesting thing is like I wasn't on YouTube, I wasn't like looking on social media, but I was starting to get emails from people within the art space, but merging with consciousness wanting to be on my podcast.
Wow.
And I was like, I've never seen these people in my life. I've never, and when I was exploring art, I wasn't openly talking about it. So I don't know where these people came from. One was about like storytelling and metaphysics, right? Like building a whole new world. And understanding metaphysics through imagination and storytelling. And the other was more about like ch healing your childhood trauma by telling stories. And I went through both of those phases around the same time.
Wow.
I was like, do I want to teach like inner child stuff with art, or do I want
Mm.
to go more metaphysics with art? And I was really trying to explore myself with that. But the universe or like the world around me reflected it by
Yeah.
these out of nowhere, like people just out of nowhere reaching out to me. And I think the frequency, like it depends where your frequency is at because
Mhm.
at, it was a short phase. And as soon as my frequency like changed and I was like, I don't really think that's for me anymore. Even when I reached out to them and I said, hey, I'd love for you to come on my podcast, no response. So that's how I knew. I was like, my frequency shifted. That was just a phase that I was exploring. And
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mm.
I'm navigating something else right now.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, yeah, it's exactly that. It's about the frequency, isn't it? It's like you put out a beacon of light, and the people that are aligned with that frequency or are a match for that frequency, that they're called into your field. And it, like you said, it doesn't always have to, it can be a phase. It can, and we're shifting and changing in frequency so much that, okay, yeah, maybe you got everything that you needed to get out of that, but it was no longer aligned.
Mhm. And I'm curious, so you started with Reiki. When you started offering Reiki, um, did you, I guess like how did it expand into what you do today with like your activations and um working with, I guess, like the light codes?
Yeah. Um, So obviously, I spent about 2 years almost practicing, if you like the word practicing, practicing on myself, on friends, on family, just really getting comfortable with the energies. And through that period of time, a lot of other things started to open up for me. And I always say to people, like, I love Reiki for that. I love, the power that being attuned to Reiki energies has, or that life, allowing that life force energy to flow through you. It's like the gateway to your gifts. I truly believe that, it's that started opening up everything else for me, my psychic abilities. Eventually, my light language started coming through as well, just spontaneously during a Reiki session. Um, but light language was always something that I had a fascination with. I had tried it in previous years to kind of activate that within myself, just in a different way. I was raised by my mother, who is very Christian, and she used to use light language in a religious, in a religious sense, speaking in tongues. And I was always fascinated with it. And so that's kind of, where I believe I was introduced to that at a very young age for a reason, because light language is such a huge part of the work that I do. And I have such a passion for it, for its power and its incredible ability to shift energy, and really bring about amazing transformation. Um, so yeah, it was like I said, Reiki was essentially the gateway. It started opening everything else up. Plus, I was really open to everything. Again, I was still really in that state of just being open to learning everything or remembering everything, that was the place that I was in at that time, was like, I'm doing this full steam ahead. Let's go. I know I'm psychic, because by that time I'd remembered, and put the pieces together of my younger years. And um, I had had experiences when I was younger, or my teen years, where I'd actually seen spirits and stuff like that. So I knew that I was clairvoyant. Um, and yeah, so just working with the Reiki energies and just practicing the work I was doing with people in the sessions I was doing for people, not being paid or anything, um, just allowed my gifts to really make themselves known. And even from when I first started my business, Codes of Gold, till now, like it's been a continual evolution, and it's still, as you would know, you're constantly evolving. Like things, some weeks I'm like, whoa, I haven't done that before. Where did that come from? So it's just been a really beautiful journey. And things just sort of, yeah, evolved organically. I've done learned a couple of other sort of modalities along the way, but it's mainly just been through working with others. And that's like one of the reasons why I always thank people, for trusting me to work with their energy, because our clients, the people that we work with, are some of our greatest teachers. They're the ones who are, we have the honor of witnessing them at a soul level, and the frequencies that they carry, the codes that they carry, then we're exposed to them. I just think it's really incredible. And then that, then we anchor those frequencies and hold those frequencies. And that's all part of the journey. It's yeah, working with other people. And it just, like I said, grew organically. And, along the way, you have those spontaneous kind of downloads of, oh, okay, I'm going to run this. This is it. I'm going to run this program, or I'm going to start offering this. And yeah, it's just grown. It's just grown in its own way.
Mm. So I'd love to know now, because we were just discussing a little bit about this, how your work has transitioned to supporting light workers in creating or building their soulful empire or our
Yeah.
enterprise. I'm sorry. I was like,
That's no, that's okay. It's a new term for me too. Yeah.
I've always, when I was like, I promise you, when I was still in corporate, I used to tell myself, like, I'm gonna build an empire. And I think
Yeah.
from the ego standpoint, it was more like I thought it was gonna be something more 3D.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to see, I think like the word I really resonate with now is like really our legacy. Like, what did our starseed
Yeah.
selves come here to build and create? So I'd love to hear in your words, in your experience, what is the soulful enterprise? And how are you supporting people, or how have you seen this, I guess, this transition happening?
Yeah. So again, going back to just working with different people over the last few years, I kind of noticed a pattern of the people that were coming to work with me, coming into my space, were largely people that owned spiritual businesses, or soulful enterprises, as I like to call it. Um, yeah, they were other healers, energy workers, psychics, mystic seers, visionaries. Not everybody, but I'd say it's probably an 80-20, 80-20 ratio. And the people that were joining my programs and wanting to do the more, like intimate, spending 6 weeks together or whatever it is during my programs, there was a definite pattern there, that they were people who were either feeling sort of stuck, or stagnant, or in their business, or just wanting to open up and activate their gifts, in new ways. So I really noticed a pattern. It became very obvious. So, I sort of thought, oh, what is it that I can offer? Like, these people are coming into my world for a reason. And I'm kind of doing this similar work with all of them, and helping people to activate their gifts has always been one of my passions right from the start. Because that was, when I went through my awakening, or deep remembrance, um, that was that was the person that I needed, then. So it's very close to my heart, but I think that's kind of what led me in this direction. Was, okay, what can I offer people? Like, there's something in this that they're coming into my field for a reason. So that was why I've sort of started walking in this direction. And like I said to you earlier, this is all still fairly sort of new for me. The work is not new because I've been doing this stuff for years, but really kind of starting to niche it down, to people that own and are running, if you like, soulful enterprises. And the reason that I sort of changed my wording or my terminology around spiritual business, I mean, we use the term business because that's what we know and understand in this world, don't we? It's what we call it, it's what we know. And like you said, it's a very 3D term. I don't, for lack of a better word, I don't even like the term 3D. Um, but it is what it is. And yeah, for me, just the word business itself, it just feels so old paradigm. It just doesn't feel like it holds the actual vibration of what soulful entrepreneurs are here to share. So I've just, yeah, changed the way I refer to that. and feel like enterprise feels much more multidimensional, even though, again, it's a 3D word. An enterprise has so many branches. And I think that's what the work of Lightworkers is. We embrace our multidimensionality. There are so many parts of us. We do all kinds of different work. We hold all of these different frequencies, and we're working with different levels of consciousness and within, different realms and different dimensions. So the word enterprise just feels a little more fitting. And that's just a personal thing. That's just a personal term that I have started using, just to sort of move away from the word business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was recently, like, I follow you on Instagram. So, of course, I see your posts sometimes. And you had mentioned something about like business, sorry, not business. Like,
That's
right?
okay.
Like your like frequency. Like there's something
Yeah.
about your enterprise or what you're here to do, your mission, your legacy, what you're here to create, something about frequency within that. So would you like
Mhm.
to kind of expand on that a little bit for people who are exactly where your clients are? Maybe they got stuck in their business. I'm just gonna call it business because that's what's coming
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
But like
yeah. I probably will too.
but like they want to do this as a career. They know this is their
Yeah,
mission, but they're
yeah,
stuck, right? What about it? What about the frequency that you work with? What is it
yeah.
that really needs to shift? Like, why do you see that people are stuck?
Yeah. I guess through my work and even the things I share on social media, I'm just inviting people, or I want to inspire people, I suppose, to think about their business, their spiritual business, as an extension of them, that it is an entity of its own, that it holds its own consciousness, that it holds its own range of frequencies, if you like. It's not something that's outside of us or separate from us. Even though that's what we understand, I suppose, a business to be. So yeah, it's inspiring others to realize that we can actually connect with the soul of our business, if you like, or the frequencies of our business, the consciousness of our business. We can actually connect with them. They want to speak to us. Our business wants to speak to us. It wants to speak through us. It's not separate from us. And that is, I suppose, the essence of soul work, is hearing that part of our soul, that aspect of our soul speak through us and really communicate clearly what it is that is our legacy work, if you like.
That's really interesting. So I guess I'll use myself as a personal example. Like even this year, like I had this idea or like I had this belief that like what I'm here to create is something already created, right? So I took all these programs, I tried to base my curriculum and all my stuff on what my mentors were teaching. And to me, I was like, that's success because it's established and they have a successful business. So in this year, what was really breaking down was those notions or those ideas of what it was supposed to look like, and really pulling me into like, what is my true self? And I think that's a big part of it too, is like
Hmm.
when you are in tune with who you are, then the things that are inspired by you, that things that are an extension of you, becomes your business, becomes your offering. And
Yeah.
I'm starting to see more and more in at least in this field, right? People are just doing their own thing, and their own thing is them being guided by their inner guidance, like their inner intuition. So if you're
Hmm.
not connected to your inner intuition, sometimes you're copying somebody else, but it's not the match for your frequency. Like it's
Yeah.
not who you are. And then when
No.
you go and promote it or when you try to share with other people, it doesn't quite land. Like people don't get
Yeah.
it. You feel disconnected from it. That was my thing this whole year. I'm like, I'm putting things out there. I'm like, oh, it's not quite me. And I'm putting other things out there. I'm like, it's getting closer, but it's still not quite me. And then at some point, I'm like, you know what? I surrender. I surrender. Just show me the next step.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, look, we can learn things from others. We have the teachers, we have the mentors, and I always like to think of myself as well in, my role as a light worker is to activate people, educate people, or inspire people. And I think that, if we keep that, that sort of mindset in perspective when we are learning from other people, they can teach us the tools, they can teach us the modalities, they can teach us the practices of how to access the energy, or of how to do this, or even the bare basics of how to run a business. But the essence of everything that we share, it has to come from us. It cannot come from anybody else, because that's not our true work. That's not our true soul work. And I can tell you that have I have had some wild things that have come through me. Like, okay, you need to share this, you need to share this Arcturian technology that's doing all these like funky and wacky things, and I'm like, oh my God, are people actually even going to believe that this is a thing, But that's the stuff. That's our true soul work. We don't receive these downloads and this information, and these visions and the things that move through us. They don't come to us for no reason, that they have a purpose. They have a purpose, and that's what makes us all so unique. And I think, I've done the things too where I've done, like you were sort of saying, I've put things out there that, I thought people might have, wanted to receive. I thought that's what people wanted. But again, it hasn't fully landed, or it didn't light me up. It actually drained me and made me feel exhausted and like, oh, I'm not really into this. I'm not really feeling excited by this. So I think when you start to really make a much more conscious connection to your business, or the soul of your business, and there comes that word again. It's what people understand, though. It's the way we speak, isn't it? But yeah, when you start to make that conscious connection, which first, obviously, like you said, starts with a connection to yourself, that's where it starts. And then it sort of expands from there. But that's when you're going to do your highest level soul work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And I would love to hear some examples. And of course, you don't have to mention your clients' names or anything, but like, could you give us like an example of how that has unfolded or supported somebody?
Yeah, so I started offering a few months back now, sessions that are called Soul Business Connection sessions. Probably need to change the name of that, don't I? But yeah, that's what they are. So essentially, they are a 30-minute session, and I do them by distance. Most of my work is done by distance. And I describe it as like having a meeting with the client's business. Like I'm having a meeting with them. And I really wish everybody knew how to do this. Maybe it's something I need to kind of share or teach, if you like, in the future. But yeah, it's essentially like I'm sitting down and having a meeting with their business. So they fill me in on what the name of their business is. And then I go in and I open up. So I use the Akashic records in most of my work as well, which is something that I really think that everybody should learn how to do too, is work with your Akashic records. So I open up the Akashic records for the business, okay, instead of for the person. The person's higher self is obviously in the field as well. And I get a really good feel for what the business or the consciousness or the frequency feels like, looks like. So, I'll be shown visuals. Maybe it's colors, maybe there's guides, like other beings or energies coming into the space, as being overlighting guides for that business or for that person and their their mission. And so I'll relay that to them, and then I move into doing a channeled message for them. And this is always written because that's the way these sessions have just unfolded. And essentially, again, it's like I'm having a conversation with the consciousness of their business. Like their business is actually speaking to me and sharing things with them that maybe they need to know right now. Maybe giving information or insight on how to better connect, or even, maybe some more of what they would like to share or how they would like that to be expressed through the client. And they're always very cryptic messages because they're purely meant, they're a transmission in themselves. They're purely meant for the client. I don't understand them a lot of the time. And they're definitely not, here's a step-by-step guide. Like that's not what I do. I'm not here to provide all the answers. I wish I could, but I'm not. It's not like step by step. Okay, you need to do this today. You need to do that tomorrow. It's nothing like that. This is yeah, like a couple of pages, like I said, of a channeled transmission that is just sharing. It could be, they're all so unique, they're all so different. It might be, making them aware of things that might be energy blocks for them, or just sharing more of what the essence, what their frequency actually feels like, how they may experience that, how they may feel that coming through their body, if there's a particular chakra or a particular way that they can communicate more clearly. That's what these sessions are essentially for, is to help open up, like to forge that stronger relationship with their business, or the soul of their business, the consciousness of their business, so that it flows through them more effortlessly. And because when it comes to creating new offerings, or knowing what step to take next, and with our soul work, or what it is that we actually want to share with people, we can hear, like, our business actually speaks to us. We can hear that. It can almost be like a tuning to the voice, if you like, of your soul business. And then at the end of those sessions, I do like a little 10-minute section of energy work, of energy healing, which is always related to what comes through in that channeled message, which helps to maybe clear any energy blocks. Like that can again be very wide and varied. Um, but I've received really beautiful responses from people around these sessions, that just hearing the messages that come through their Akashic records, is they really land, even though they come across as really cryptic. It really lands for them, bringing them to tears a lot of the time, and them just walking away and saying, "Wow, like I didn't even know I needed to hear that," or you know, and then in the sort of following days, coming back to me and saying that it's really helped. They feel an activation in a whole new way. So yeah, it's like all of my work, I suppose, and all energy work. The shifts are subtle. The transformations take a little bit of time. The integration takes time. Things take time to unfold and reveal themselves. But um, essentially, it's really about creating a closer connection to um, the business, the soul of your business, or the consciousness of your business.
Yes. Oh, I really love that you shared an example of how you tune in and you tap in and you bring this information through and how people connect with it. Because I think sometimes, we think of what we're doing as external, something external to us, but really, like, it is what, like, we have connection to it because, of course, we create with it, right?
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because even I'm currently in a program and it's coming to an end now, but I remember when I first started, they said, can you tap into the quantum and just ask your higher self to show you what you're going to experience at the end of 2025? So we did that at the beginning of 2025 and then at the end of 2025. And it proved to me that we always have a connection. It's almost like you can tap into the future, right? You can tap into the quantum, you can tap into the Akashic records, like you said, bring through what already exists. If all time and space is happening right now, we have access to this information and we
Mm-hmm.
just bring that through and we can embody that. Um, and sometimes it's not like, it doesn't make any sense. Like I saw at the end of 2025, it was going to feel, it was a feeling, it was going to feel like a brand new beginning. And for me, it wasn't about my business, even though I was in the program for the business. For me, it was like,
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna like, I saw myself walking into a brand new home. And I was like, that's interesting because currently, right, we get caught up in the whole reality thing. I got caught up in the reality of like, well, I just spent all this money on this program and where am I going to get that money from?
Yeah.
House and blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, it's nearing the end of the year. We are looking for new apartments to move. And my mom comes through, and mind you, I had to do a lot of inner work for this because I
Hmm.
refused to take her money. But I had reached this point in my healing where I was like, I'm open to accepting and receiving now, right? Before my heart was so blocked, I wasn't open to receiving anything. And she was like, I want to buy you a condo. And that's how we got our new house. But it was like, oh, like some part of me was like, this is more and more like the universe is showing me, like, we are taken care of. It doesn't matter where your reality is currently, you can be in a completely different space. Like when
Yes.
you connect with that higher version of you and you
Hmm.
trust and you believe because the energy that you feel is it already exists. You just trust that it already exists and you keep taking one step in front of the other. And so this year was a year of trust. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna
Yeah.
get the house. And in fact, I forgot about it. And I was just like one step in front of the next step in front of the next step. And some days were tearful and some days were like really hard. But
Yeah.
here we are today, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. You saw the vision. And, I think what you just said then, I forgot about it. I forgot about how I was going to get the house. It's like that's the point, the surrender point where things really fall into place. I truly believe that. And, like you said, you get caught up in the reality, don't you? We're going, you're thinking, oh, I've just done this program. I've just spent all my money. How am I'm seeing this new house, but how am I even going to, like, it's not even a possibility in your mind. But then, like you said, when you just trust that you are looked after, that things are going to work out, you just have to let go of the outcomes. Our mind just always, that was like your sort of tunnel vision and saying, well, that's the only way is if we buy the house. But then your mum came through and something else, it landed in your field. You're still getting the new house and you saw that vision. It was just a different pathway to get there, a different outcome. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yes. And I'll tell you, the way it unfolded within a week, within 3 days, we saw, like my mom flew down, we saw the place. She was like, that this is it. And we were like, oh, let's look at some other properties, blah, blah, blah. But then at the end, we were like, yeah, that's it. That's the one. And 2 days, 3 days, they were like, that's the one. Put in the
Yeah.
offer, close within the week. So it's been 2 weeks and we're already moving into closing. Like that's how fast it,
Wow.
boom, everything just
Love that.
happened right there and then. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. The thing, I mean, it's not crazy in our world, but like the thing
Yeah.
it's crazy to like human mind. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
to
a
the human
human. I'm
mind.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm always delightfully surprised.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? It's fun. I love those moments of like, oh, yes, that's how that worked out. Yeah, didn't see that coming, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would
Yeah.
love to invite you into the live experience, which is like the transmission or the activation or meditation, whatever you feel called to share with us in the moment. I would love to invite you forward to share that with us.
Okay. Would it be okay if I just shared some light language today?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. What I'm feeling into is and something I didn't touch on earlier was the connection to Lemuria, for those that are, stewarding soulful enterprises. Recently, what dropped in for me during a channeling session was that those of us that are running spiritual businesses are deeply connected to Lemuria and the codes of Lemuria. And, we hold um, a Lemurian blueprint, if you like, within our divine blueprint, being the architects of new earth, new ways of doing things, and through just briefly going over the top of it, that those of us that are working in this realm, we are bringing in and anchoring new levels of frequency and consciousness that are largely based on unity consciousness. So, those typical frequencies of Lemuria, um, creating new structures, energetic infrastructure, if you like, of the way business business works, yeah, that kind of thing. So I feel like maybe some Lemurian light language is probably what wants to come through right now. Tuaja tala utu shanta kulumbara yana tata ola. Utuaja tala utu oro ustandia halantoi. Nau to kukura harahi ato to ola la koto tutura ya namu koto kuhai. Tuarahi ato to ola la koto tu mbahia. Nakurahia niantukukura. Hia tutukura rahi atola la kututura hinia. Nahaya tutuya. Atakukura ura ustutuyana. Taro ukutura. Na ustataya. Nakura natia nakura la kutu uma. Tara iana na tukuru ustutuyana. Taro utala mboi. Nara I antuku ulo uru hustiara ki antatukukura. I feel like that was a real reflection. The essence of that transmission was a real reflection of what we were already speaking about, and the way we spoke of we're so open to forging that deeper connection with ourselves, with our soul, with our higher self, with our inner voice, our intuition. But that was really specifically coming through as, yeah, you are so open to that. So have the same openness in connecting with the soul of your business or the consciousness of your soulful enterprise. It's the same thing. It's another aspect of your soul.
Thank
And that is
you. Thank you so much. I saw like a flash of a vision, and I've been seeing this flash of a vision all year, but I feel like even with your transmission, like I saw a little bit more expanded of the vision.
okay.
And it was about like how we weave our light into physical creations. And for me, that was like through art. And I've been kind of dipping my toe and then taking back out and then dipping my toe and taking it back out. But I feel like I've seen more of it expanding and how that impacts like everyone else, like how it impacts the frequencies and like the, I guess the consciousness
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
of the
Yeah.
universe and the consciousness of what we're in. And on top of that, for those who are really listening and feeling so drawn in by these conversations, just trust your journey. Because some of the things that my guides were showing me to do this year was nothing, nothing that I could ever dream up on my own. But somehow, some way, it was so soul fulfilling. And like
Hmm.
Lauren has said, like if you get the vision and you trust in it and you believe in it and you move forward on it, the trust is the biggest part that you will be met. And that was like one of the biggest things for me. I was
Hmm.
so scared. I was like, what if nobody, right? Like, what if nobody's interested? Like you said, sometimes you get all these technologies and you're like, what if nobody's interested in what I have to offer? And part of that process was like, if it's given to you, it's because there's someone out there who's ready for it.
Yes,
Yes. And I have
absolutely.
always, 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 no matter what crazy thing like they give me, and I'm like, what? I'm like, 1 second I'm doing this, and the next second I'm doing that. And it's like, no matter what I put out there, somebody always showed up for it. And I think that's
Hmm.
the proof that I needed, that I was like, okay, just trust. Don't worry about what it is. Don't worry about it. Just trust. And that was the
Yeah.
word, just trust, just trust, just trust. So
Hmm.
if that landed with any of you, please let me know in the comments. But yes, Lauren, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. I had so much fun laughing with you and hearing all this incredible wisdom and the energies and the light that you are bringing through for all of us here. Um, are there any last words that you want to share with us?
I'm not sure if there's any last words. I would just absolutely echo everything that you just said around trust. You know, trust in yourself, trust in God or source, trust in the universe, trust that you are always supported, and like you said, you will be met. That's exactly what we were speaking about at the beginning of this. I think before we even recorded, you will be met by taking those leaps or taking those risks. They're the best ones, the ones that, you don't understand and they make no logical sense. They're the ones. Mm.
Beautiful. Thank you. And just to end today's beautiful conversation, what are some offerings that you have at the current moment, and how do people connect with you if they're interested in working with you?
Yeah, so I offer my signature energetic attunement sessions. I have run them since the beginning of starting my business. They are all done by distance. So I work with people all over the world, so time is not an issue. I also have light language, personalized light language activations. I do multidimensional soul integration sessions, which are really, really powerful and really fun and interesting as well. And I also have my soul business connection sessions for those that are, wanting to move forward with their soulful enterprises in a new way, or to freshen up that connection with their business. Um, Instagram, Lauren's Codes of Gold is where you can find me, and there's links to within my Instagram profile. There's links to my website and yeah, my email and all that kind of stuff there.
Yay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. Oh, and one last thing I totally forgot to ask. Your free gift. Your free gift for the audience.
So my free gift is an activation, a recorded activation that sort of dives a little bit deeper into what I just spoke about. I mean, I only just scratched the surface before about those that are stewarding soulful enterprises and their connection, their soul connection to Lemuria. This is the activation is an activation of the crystalline field of light, the Lemurian crystalline field of light that I have channeled that information around that this sits within us. And specifically, again, relating to, people that are running spiritual businesses, but even also people who just feel that Lemurian connection, feel that connection to Lemuria and that deep connection to unity consciousness. So that's what that will be.
Yay! Awesome. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing your free gift with us, everyone. I will have the link to Lauren's free gift and all of her website links down below in the description box. Please let us know in the comments your experience. What have you taken away from this podcast episode? We would love to hear from you. And with that said, thank you everyone for being here, for tuning in, for standing in your light and really standing in your own power. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the next episode.